Macmillan Audio presents The Last Great Road Bum, written by Héctor Tobar, read by Andrés Pabon. One. The part about the boy. Natural histories. 1. Urbana, Illinois, USA. Between the sway of wind-catching willows, Joe Sanderson searched. He climbed over the knotty skeletons of old shrubs and planted his feet into spongy soil. His sneakers snapped dead branches in two. These were the early days of autumn, and his arms and cheeks were still summer-bronzed and freckled over the last layers of his baby fat. He was 11 years old and an expert butterfly collector, probably the top kid lepidopterist in Champaign County, in his own humble opinion. At night his bones ached and added marrow, and each morning his limbs felt more sinewy and masculine, as if he'd somehow entered the body of Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone. Manhood was calling to him in the contracting muscles of his calves and his bulkier biceps, but not yet in his loins. For the moment he was still a boy. Joe's friend Jim trailed behind him. Above them the Illinois sun streamed through the tree canopies, and their leaves became emeralds and rubies. Joe looked down at the ground before him, which had been made wet by weeks of rain showers, and saw slugs, snails, and hopping insects, creatures that were burrowing and slithering. An earthworm oozed over his foot. His new canvas tennis shoes were covered in mud and ruined. Mom's going to be heaping mad. Nah, that's a dumb thing to think. A scientist doesn't worry if his shoes are covered in mud. His father, Professor Milton W. Sanderson, was an entomologist at the University of Illinois and the world's leading expert on the June beetle. Joe had been trying to sound like his father when he invited Jim on this butterfly expedition. They had traveled from Joe's house on Washington Street on bicycles, down the straight and flat asphalt strip of Race Street to the edge of town, past the asterisk petals of yellow wildflowers to this grove of university-planted trees. Nearby, the last patches of native prairie grass in Champaign County were catching the wind and drawing bugs, while the shallow stream whispered to the butterflies and dragonflies to come rest by its muddy shores. Muddy shores, muddy shoes. My mother will be angry at these muddy shoes. So here I am reading a novel about me, and for some reason the fictional me is a little kid. Well, you can only expect strange things when you're in the hands of a Guatemalan dude, which is what the author of this book is, despite the bald eagle on his passport and the native English that flows from his tongue. My travels taught me that the Central American people are as friendly and romantic a lot as you'd hope to meet. They also possess a lovably dark sense of wit, and without those qualities, no writer would be able to tell my story. 2 hours earlier, Joe's mother, Virginia Sanderson, née Coleman, had watched Joe emerge from his bedroom in his pajamas. She felt, for what would prove to be the last time, the sensation that had often come over her when Joe was a cotton-diapered infant and milk-toothed toddler, that he had somehow stretched out, thinned out, and grown taller overnight. On most days, Virginia sat behind a desk at the Champaign County Bank and Trust. She spent her work days keeping ledgers and turning the crank on a machine whose gears could add up to $9,999,999.99. When she got home, Virginia kept on counting. 1 man, 2 boys, Joe and his brother Steve, 4 steaks, 1 pan, 4 potatoes, 1 cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of butter, 4 hours till bedtime, 4 feet, 11 inches.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?